Hello, everybody out there in West Hills Village land. Welcome to Neighborly. We are here today with Muriam Dunmire. Miriam has graciously agreed to allow me to interview her instead of Yul Donovan, who decided to take an extended vacation. So hopefully, I will catch up with Yul next month and he will be on Neighborly's program for August. If not, I know that there are a lot of people out there at West Hills Village that are fascinating, and I would love to interview them. So thank you, Miriam, for coming and allowing me to interview you today.
Well, it's my pleasure.
We met up yesterday in the library and we started chatting, and I thought, man, I need to ask Miriam to allow me to interview her. And I did not think it was going to happen so soon, and I really appreciate your time.
I have nothing but time.
You have nothing. All right. So, how long have you lived at West Hills Village?
Well, we came here moved in 1996, and we just, of course, we're just blessed from the time that we came in. Don and I would just say, "Oh, aren't we glad we came in?" Because we came in from another apartment downtown, and it was just the timing was perfect.
Right.
Because Don was just about to retire, and we went to California for 7 months. So it was hard for us to get acquainted here because we were on the golf course or fishing when we got back here. So we didn't really socialize too much, but we loved every minute of it. We looked forward to coming back here from California.
Oh my goodness. So how long did you live in California?
Well, we stayed there 7 months, and I don't know how Don got 7 months. I said, I thought you only allowed 6, and he said no. His accountant said that we could stay for 7 if we wanted to.
So what were you out there for?
Just to relax.
Oh, that's lovely.
We played golf and we made friends. We bought a unit in another big units, and we looked forward to it in October, but by end of June, no, it was the end of May. Must have been the end of April. I'm not counting my months, am I?
That's all right.
It was, we were very happy to come back, and we look forward for both parts of it.
Right. So that means you have been at West Hills for over 20 years. And prior to that, you lived in Rapid for a period of time and in California. Where in California?
Well, from some friends of ours had gone out there to, it was Palm Springs.
I lived in Palm Springs.
Hmm?
I lived in Palm Springs.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I lived
they came back. They had just been out there for maybe 3 weeks or something. And we were dear friends of theirs, so they said, oh, you have to go to Palm Springs, because we were kind of looking around. We went to Texas, and we went to Arizona, and we were looking for,
right.
And so we went out for a week and just stayed at Lawrence Welk deal, and we liked it.
Right.
But the traffic wasn't. There was two lanes, that you could use.
Yeah.
And we were getting older, and driving in a big city
Yeah.
wasn't
No.
our
No, and when
Sure.
I lived in Palm Springs, it was still a fairly small community. It had sprawled out into like La Quinta and all those other areas, but it was still a fairly, not
Yeah.
traffic wasn't bad or anything like that. Where I lived, I could look up out my bedroom window and I saw the light that was on Bob Hope's house.
Oh, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, that's my only claim to fame.
Were they were living there?
Yes,
You know?
they were living there at that time. That was
Yeah.
before he passed away. So,
Well, we weren't much for swimming pools, but we would gather around, our neighbors. We had wonderful neighbors that wanted to get, talk about their families and everything. And so we just, we looked forward to it every October. We'd say, oh,
it's time to go.
yeah, time to go.
So, did you live in Rapid City for the most part of your life?
I came out here when I was 17.
From where?
Reliance, South Dakota.
Oh, small town.
Small. I went to grade school in a country school at Kennebec, South Dakota.
Oh my goodness.
And then when I went to high school, my grandfather had a ranch north of Reliance. And he was getting older, and he wanted my dad to take that over. My brother could do the other part of the ranching at Kennebec. And so when I graduated from the high school there were only 6 in my class. And I wanted to come out to Rapid City because the base was starting up, and I thought, well, I can go to business college. But the guy from business college came around, and I signed up, for that. And he came back and got me, and another girl from Kennebec. And we came out and enjoyed. Mr. Jacobson was the teacher, and I took a year of just not trying to type and figure out what to do. And I wanted to go to the base because they were paying pretty good. And they wouldn't take me because I was too young.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
I wasn't 18 yet.
Oh.
And so Mr. Jacobson said, let's go down and see Art Dahl at the bank. And so we did. He took me down, and Art said, well, I don't want to hire somebody that young, but he said it's in the war, and I can't, I can't be fussy. So he said, we'll try you out, and I didn't know anything about banking or anything, but he put me in the downstairs in the lowest part.
Where you could not get into any trouble.
And I just kept developing it up, and finally I was a teller.
Right.
And I loved it, and I loved all the people there. And 25 years later, I retired from the
Oh, did you?
bank. And Mr. Dahl he always was kidding me, about things about Don and I went to dance club and things, and he was always kidding us about being young or something, I don't know. And it was a very pleasurable experience for me. And when I retired, Don was still working, of course. And I took up golf, and with a vengeance. And Don had said, you can, if you're here in the morning and you're here at night when I'm here, he said, you can do anything you want with your time.
That's nice.
And I did. I played golf and I played bridge. I mean, I just went on
Okay.
holiday. And
When did you meet Don? You have to tell me your story here. When did you meet Don? See, you got all glowy when I asked you that question.
when I got in the teller,
Mm-hmm.
he came in from South Sioux Falls. His brother-in-law had an accounting business in Sioux Falls, and Don had just gotten out of the service. So he sent him out here, and his office was up in the bank building. And he came down and he happened to go to my window to open an account. And I went home that night. My sister and I had an apartment on St. Joe Street, and I said, I met the man I'm going to marry. And my sister said, oh, you know, she just kind of laughed. And I said, no. I said, he came in the bank, and I opened an account, and he had a little money because he'd come over on the ship, and he was playing poker and made a little money. And so he came in the next day after to see me, and he asked me to go to a movie. And that, we just hit it off. And he wanted to get married because he was 27. I was 21. But he really wanted to get settled. And so I just said, well, yeah, I said, I'm ready to get married. And Don's brother-in-law said, not during tax season, you're not. So we had to wait until April 27th.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So how long was it from the time you met him until you married him? How long was it from the time you met him until you married him?
Just from January to, I think it was February he came in. February to.
That's like less than 3 months, Miriam.
Oh yes, I mean we were willing to get married the second date we had. I think it was absolutely a love affair.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And he wouldn't say darn hardly, you
Right.
know. He was just such a gentleman.
He was a good man.
And I made up for him.
I don't believe that at all, Miriam.
But we were very compatible, and we wanted children. And I don't know how can you read, not put something in?
Well, I can't edit it, but you can tell me afterwards.
I said to somebody the other day, we were talking about it, and I said, it wasn't from not trying. I said, I mean, we went into what's the one in Minnesota?
Mayo Clinic?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we just tried everything, you know, we really did. And we weren't meant to, and Don had been, his mother died when he was 6 months old, and his dad had farmed him out to a wonderful family.
And that happened a lot in those days
Yes.
with when somebody
Because
lost a mom.
his dad wouldn't let them adopt him
Mm.
because he thought he'd get married again, and he did. And when he got married again, and then he wanted his 4 children back. And of course, the people that had Don didn't want. They were an older couple,
Right.
and had young family, you know, but they were on a farm, something. Let's see, what was it? I can't remember. It was anyway. They were raising things, and they had a lot of different help, and they carried on their shoulders, you know. And he just lived wonderful. About 3 years is all though, and his mother and dad were very religious.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember one time we weren't married yet, but we went down to see them, and they lived in Nebraska. And we came down in the morning for breakfast, and they were all kneeling down saying prayers. And that wasn't our thing, you know. But we've had some I don't know if you would be interested in this, but Don and I had a funny relationship with religion. When I came out here, I just went to every church because my mother and my dad, they just didn't agree on religion or politics. And mother had a sister that would come and they always had big lunches, you know, and she was a Democrat and my dad was a Republican.
Oh, I bet that was interesting table conversation.
Well, it was terrible. And mother would say to dad, now, don't start anything. Well, he said, I don't start it. I said, yes, but you follow. She said, yes, but you follow, you know, it just eggs you on. And so when I came out here then, mother she was the Catholic, and she just gave up her religion and that because it wasn't worth the struggle for her. He wasn't pleasant. When I came out here then, I just went to every church, just went probably 3 months. And then I went to the Catholic church, and there was an older priest, this little bitty guy, and he said, you've got the background. He said, why don't you try to take some, not lessons, but I guess there were lessons, you know, and what about the churches, and so I did, and so then I was Catholic when Don and I met, and he would drive me to church on Sunday. First we would go over to eat breakfast, and then he'd drop me off, and I'd go, and then he'd come back and get me. That for 2 years. And one day, he dropped me off, and he got out of the car. And I said, is there something wrong? No, he said, I joined the church last night. He had a friend that gave him instructions, a Catholic buddy of his. He never said a word. He always worked at night, you know. I didn't know that he was taking anything, but I thought he was just at work. And so he was a better Catholic than I have ever been. It was his religion. I mean, he really got into it.
Right.
And, he wasn't
It made him happy.
He was just happy to have
Yeah.
a religion that
Yeah.
pleased him.
Good.
So we've had quite a kind of an interesting life, I think.
Yes. So what were some of the other things besides golf that you guys did together? Dancing, I understand.
We had a lot of friends,
Mm-hmm.
and we
No, I didn't figure you to be a social butterfly at all, Miriam.
he, you know, he would go, and he was a good conversationalist if somebody would start something with him, and but he loved to stay home, but he knew I was a party person, and so he would go,
Yeah.
and he learned to play a fair game of bridge, but we played not solitaire but rummy,
Right.
and we had a rummy group that got together, and we'd have dinners, you know, and I mean we had a social life. But after I took up golf, then he played with me most of the time then. And of course we both loved golf, and we were both fishermen. We had a boat, just a little tiny boat first, you know, you sat on little pegs and stuff in the boat, and we graduated to a beautiful boat. And then I think about 20 years ago, we sold it, and we took a guide. And when we'd come back, that guide would just, you know, he would just do everything for us.
Right.
But when we didn't have a guide, Don would clean the boat and I'd clean the fish. So I mean, you know, it was time we had help.
Yeah.
It was getting kind of
Too much.
too much.
Where was your favorite place to fish?
We'd start at Chamberlain, and when we'd get back, probably the weekend we got back, we would go to Chamberlain, because that was where the fish were biting then. Then we'd go to Mobridge, and then we'd just work down, and Pier was where our guide was. So most of the time, we were, in the summertime, we would go to Pier and stayed at, I don't know, a motel by the dock, you know, or something.
It's probably still there, Miriam.
It sure is, I'm sure. It wasn't fancy, you know, I mean, it was because we were fishing, and
Right.
we'd come in, and we took other people with
Right.
us, and Frank and Mary Ellen Short he was a partner in Don's firm, and we would go fishing with them, and then other people would, and Don sometimes would just take men in and fish, and I'd
You'd
play
be
cards.
golfing. So, did you travel any other areas around the world or anything like that? Did you do traveling?
I didn't.
Did you do any traveling?
Yes, we did. Don had a business. I mean, it was his business. He had a seminar for 2 weeks. First, it was in New York City, and I would go with him, and there were 3 couples that went from one Sioux Falls and one from Aberdeen or something, and the women would just shop while they were working, you know, all the days, and then we had a week to go anywhere we wanted to, but most of the time we kind of stayed in where we were living there. And then when they quit that, I think we went 10 years to those meetings, and then they switched it to what? Oh, I'm trying to think. give me a
That's all right. Take as long as you need.
Hawaii.
Oh, well, that would be a place to go. New York to
So
Hawaii.
where-
That's a good change.
We all went there
Yes.
with the three of couples.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a week, then we'd go over to another room, not room, but another, like, what am I trying to say? You're going to have to edit this pretty much. Or you can put it in and let them laugh.
It's all good. It is all good.
You've got carte blanche. Roland. Anyway, Don and I were the only golfers. And I think they got a little discouraged with us because the minute we'd get over to the other island, we'd get our glove. And that's all we wanted to do was
Right.
play golf. We would eat with them at night, but they were very happy, to be just the two couples, I
Mhm.
think. But they thought we should all stay together.
Oh,
And Don, no way, kid. He said, we're going to go golfing because they were working night and day,
Right.
during that season. And
that's how he relaxed.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we did. And we played a lot of golf. And one day we had played 36 holes.
Oh, my lands. That is a lot of golf.
And Don said, do you want to play another 9? And I said, well, do you? He said, well, yeah. I said, let's try another 9. And when the last hole, the 9th hole, I hit the ball onto the green. And I put my club in the cart. And I said, I'm not even going to putt. I had it.
You were done.
I never thought I'd ever get enough cards or golf, and I proved that I could.
You did.
I did it.
So, for those of you at West Hills, Miriam was married for how many years were you married, Miriam? How many years were you married?
7. We would have had our 70th anniversary April. In April, we would have had our 7th.
So 69
Don was
years.
97 when
Oh,
he passed
my.
away. And when he was in the hospital a while. We went to the doctor when he wasn't feeling good, and so we sold our place in California and came back because he knew that he wasn't quite right. And we went to a doctor here, and I don't remember the name of what he had. I had never heard of it before. But anyway, he said what he had. And he said, I'm just going to be very honest with you. He said, you can take a medicine
Mm-hmm.
or you could just let it go. And he said, it won't make any difference. He said, you've got about 2 years. And Don died the day that he told him that he had 2 years. Don passed away.
Oh, my
in
goodness.
the hospital over here.
Mm-hmm.
And they just had such wonderful treatment. It was such a blessing because I could stay in the apartment, get up in the morning, go down and be with him all day, and if I wanted to go back up and do
Mm-hmm.
something, but I just quit all the things that I would have been doing,
Right.
I was just with him all the time.
You're appreciating him.
And it was the last week was when he couldn't talk about
Right.
it. He was just so, he just faded.
Right.
And then he, when he passed away, then I just really kind of didn't go to anything here. I stayed in my apartment. I wasn't, because he said, "You're not going to cry." And 3 months after he died, I sat down in his chair and I just bawled my head off.
Well, it's not like he could stop you.
I mean, I let it all
Yep.
out. And then, I sit in his chair and talk to him
Okay.
up the ceiling, and but he never answers me.
No.
But he hears me,
I'm sure he does hear you. And Don was one of the individuals who was instrumental in West Hills Village coming into fruition. Correct?
Is that right?
Yeah, he was. You were telling me that Don helped with the beginning of West Hills.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He wasn't on the board right away. They just has, like, I guess I said that.
Yeah.
That they just, he was so brilliant.
Right. Well, they say behind every good man there's a great woman, Miriam.
A funny one. He never would argue. If something, kind of disturbed me, he would either walk away or he'd say, "Honey, it isn't important."
Right.
We never had an argument that made us feel bad about it. But as I say, we did miss having children. But Frank and Muriel, they had two children, and we would go places with them, and Jerrianne is my godchild, and their son was but he passed away. He passed away the year that Don died.
Mm.
He was an accountant not Arizona, but one of the states, I can't remember.
So you had a very good life and made the most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my, I just have wonderful memories. And I didn't feel bad, I did, because it was time for him to die.
Right.
But the fellow that runs the, runs the bus here.
Greg?
His wife's a nurse.
Leanne.
We were in in Don's room, and I was sitting by the bed, and I said, "Oh, Don, I love you." And he said, "Oh, honey, I love you too." And this fellow was in our bathroom working, and we didn't know anybody was in there. And he came out and he said, "Is it time for me to leave?" And Don said, "No, I think I can handle it." So we had a lot of fun.
Good.
And I think if it would have extended more time, it would have been bad but he was so good and they were good to him.
That's very good. And that's one of the reasons why you came to West Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
I think we were, if you can be blessed, we were.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think when people argue, I think, don't do it.
Right. It's not worth it in the end.
Yeah, because you have to have those good memories.
Right.
And of course, Jerrianne is very, very helpful for me now. She has bought her folks home, and she stays out there, and she's so good to her folks.
And Frank and Mary Short live here.
And she is not feeling very good.
No.
And so I went over last night because Jerry Ann was fixing not lobster, but what we fished for in the. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The fish she knew I'd like to catch, and she was going to fix it for her folks.
I was going to say, I would be awfully impressed if you managed to catch lobster in South Dakota.
I don't think it was. I know what it is, but it seemed, you can see my mind is not working very good.
My mind hasn't worked that well this week either, Miriam. It's all good.
It's so maddening,
Mm-hmm.
because now Don has a niece that lives in Washington State on an island, and they used to come and visit us twice a year, and we loved to have them come, and we went to their place one time, but Don didn't like islands. You have to get on a ship, to get to them.
Yeah, that's usually the catch.
Yeah. So, anyway, when they were here 2 years ago, of course they couldn't come here last year. I thought she was kind of forgetful because she didn't bring the things that she usually, and I said to Al, her husband, I said, is there something wrong with Sandy? And he said, yes, she's getting very forgetful. So this year, their anniversary was on the 4th of July. So I sent him a check and a card, and I said, I'll call you on the 4th of July. So I did. I said, happy anniversary and happy 4th of July. And Al said, Sandy isn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she can come to the phone. And their daughter was staying there. And so she got on the phone and talked. She said, no, she doesn't want to eat. But she's only, I don't think she's 80 years old yet. And I feel so bad about that, but there's nothing I can do at all.
So can I ask you a personal question? And I know this is really rude, but how old are you, Miriam?
Well, in 2 months, I'll be 97.
Oh my goodness.
Let's see, maybe 3. Because my birthday is September 7th, and you see.
About 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will be 97.
No, not even 2 months. So that's good. So I have to tell you, for being almost 97, you are as sharp as a tack.
But I just hate to think that I'm not just perfect,
Don't we all?
I never was. I don't know how Don put up with me. But it was true love, I guess. You talk about love, and it was love. After I saw him, the base was hairy, and my sister and I'd go out and dance with it.
Well, and you literally knew the day you met him.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that you guys were married within 3 months of actually meeting, and your marriage lasted 69 years, that is, you and Don were unicorns.
Yeah.
That does not happen at all. Not at all. So.
No, I was so fortunate. I mean, because when I quit work, he said, now I don't want any, but you keep an account yourself and you spend whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
He said, don't, and if you want something and you don't have the money, use my account.
Mm-hmm.
Because we always had separate accounts. He put money into my account, and I thank you. But I really didn't need it because I had a good, after working there for 25 years, I had a pretty good salary. And his office there for, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years was still upstairs in the bank. Then they built their own building, and but we'd still a lot of times go home to eat. He liked to go home and have lunch, and but then, as I said, when I quit, he said, just you've done your job. He said, you just do what you want to do. And of course, I love to cook. I don't come up here.
You still cook a lot? So what's your favorite recipe?
My favorite really is they have it on the menu today. It's hamburger and what is it? And in a bowl, in a
Taco salad? Taco salad?
Yes.
Oh, is it?
And Shorts think I make the best taco salad they've ever tasted.
Huh.
And they love my soup.
What
And
soup is that?
I love making big barrels of soup. I've got a big container, and
What's your favorite soup?
well, most of the time it's I just really love chicken noodle or chicken, the little,
Chicken rice?
yeah.
Yeah. Huh. We might have to have a cook-off, Miriam, because I make a good chicken noodle soup.
They think I make the best soup too, because I make beef soup too. That is very good.
Is it good?
Yes.
You gonna teach me how to make it? You wanna teach me how to make it in the kitchenette downstairs in September?
Well, no, I don't think I would do that.
What?
But I mean, I would feel funny, I think.
Okay, well, I won't pressure you too much, but I am going to let you think about it for a little bit, and I'll revisit it with you.
Wait, you make soup or you make?
I make soups. I'm pretty good at it, but I'll be very honest. I don't think I've ever done a beef soup before. So
You've never done a beef soup?
No, I've done beef and noodles, but not necessarily like a beef soup.
Yeah.
So you never
those
know.
are my two favorite, but I make. Sometimes I just kind of cobble things up. I'm my mother's child when cooking, because she just had wonderful meals.
Right.
We loved, and of course they had a garden. We were out in them.
Yeah, there's nothing that can beat fresh produce. You just can't.
No, we just. My sister and I would go out, and when the carrots were, we'd pull one, and I tried to think I think it was some kind of I don't think it was vanilla, but we'd take something out and we put it on the carrot, and we just sit in the garden and eat carrots. Why would I think about that? But my sister, she was 14 months older than I was. And so we walked to school. I sat on my sister's lap for the first 5 days of school, because I was only 4, and then you see it was in September, so then, but Mother said, why not,
Right.
because I was so lonesome when my sister had gone to school. So the next year, then she put us, and we walked so half a mile, but
Right.
you know, when it was cold, it wasn't.
When the cold, you felt it, but for the most part, yeah.
But
People were used to doing a lot of stuff like that and didn't even think about it. Can you imagine a lot of the kids, if my nieces had to walk a half a mile,
yeah.
they wouldn't get very far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a hard life. My folks played for dances, but they farmed, and they'd come in. Mother would be working out on the farm with him, a tractor. She was just, I just was so admiring of her because she would tackle anything.
Right.
And my dad, he was a quiet person. And Mother, she'd say, "Now don't you get quiet on me." I can just hear him. And then, you know, he'd get in a grin, but he had a little temper. But they never ever touched us. I mean, but sometimes we had. My brother was 4 years older than I was, and he was a babysitter until he started playing in the band. I think he was 14 when he started playing with the band.
Did you play musical instruments as well?
I played the saxophone, but not in the band.
Okay.
And I was so bad.
Oh no.
It was a big, kind
Yeah.
of big sax. I sang. My sister and I had a group, we had a quartet, and then we would go out at dances when they had a Bacon Park. We'd go up and sing with the bands.
Oh my goodness.
There were 4 of us.
Almost like the Andrews sisters, huh?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Oh my goodness.
I had an interesting life.
And I think listening to you, you recognized very early on that you were blessed and were very grateful for it. And I think when people realize that, their lives reflect those blessings and that gratitude. So
I always feel so sorry for people that argue and can't get along.
Yep.
Because Don taught me that. He said, don't argue with people. If you don't like they're a Democrat or a Presbyterian, let them, if they want to talk to you, just either walk away or say, "I'm sorry, but I don't argue with." He said, "Don't ever get into an argument because it just ruins your whole system."
Yeah. And that's very wise words.
Yeah.
And thank you so very much, Muriam, for sharing your wisdom and your laughter and your humor. This was wonderful.
Well, I shouldn't have talked so much.
No, it was perfect.
But, you could tell the other day that I was a jabbermouth, so.
That's all good. From one jabbermouth to another, it was very good. Thank you.
Good. Well, you delete